immigration answers. I'll start with you, Matthew. First things first, let me get straight to the nuts and bolts of it. Do you think we should even control our borders or have open borders?
I mean, I'm kind of empathetic to the idea of having open borders in the sense of having a generous immigration plan. You know, there's some broad economic research that suggests that immigration is one of the best things you could do for the world in terms of boosting productivity, letting people live where they're most able to work hard and contribute to society. I probably, though, wouldn't in practice go that far. I'd say I accept the idea of having some level of immigration control and that being a necessary thing. Obviously, for purely security and reasons, you don't want people to exploit public resources and social welfare and healthcare, as well as the fact of ensuring popular consent. You know, the idea of having no immigration controls, I think, would be quite unpopular. That said, though, if you look at the polls, particularly since Brexit, immigration has very much gone down the list as an issue of importance to people. And you do tend to get pretty broad support for some level of immigration in the country. I think immigrants contribute a lot. We're seeing this at the moment when we have skills shortages. We do need immigrants to ensure that our NHS can keep functioning. We do need immigrants to fill skills gaps in high-tech companies in London. Immigrants have made a great contribution in terms of starting businesses and creating jobs. And the overall evidence is immigrants do lead to higher wages and do lead to more prosperity. So I'd like to see a generous immigration system overall.
Generous immigration system to my left. Alp, where do you stand?
We have got an only too generous immigration system. We need to tighten it considerably, frankly. And if the contenders for the leadership of the Conservative Party have any sense, they will start addressing this issue. I hope they were listening in, frankly, because so far they haven't discussed immigration at all. We've been talking about Rwanda, crossing the Channel, asylum. That is actually 1/6 over the overall immigration that we've had into this country, of net migration that we've had over the last 20 years. We've had an increase in our population over the last 10 years of 3.5 million. Now, your opener said 60% of that was the result of immigration. In fact, if you take into account the children born to those who have come here, we're actually talking about 80 to 90% in recent years from immigration. That sort of increase in our population is nuts, absolutely mad. How are we going to cope? How are we going to provide the housing? How are we going to provide the doctors? How are we going to provide the nurses? But we're not training enough of our experts, and we're not hanging on to them once we do. That's where the problem lies. We need to tighten in immigration considerably, particularly for work, which has been loosened for so many reasons, really, that shouldn't have applied. The points-based system that was sold to us as the answer to everything, in fact, has loosened our borders to such an extent that it's now letting in millions of people over a short period.